She's gone from being a vilified royal mistress to the woman who will now shape the future of the monarchy, Camilla Parker Bowles.
He's probably fed up with her.
I never witnessed anything firsthand. All I caught were murmurs drifting through the laundry room and down the narrow kitchen passages. They called the fire alarm an accident, but in my heart, I knew it wasn't that simple. That shaken admission didn't come from a reporter or a public official, but from a former palace servant who had departed only months earlier. According to the scattered accounts that moved quietly through the palace's ancient stone corridors, the fire that broke out in the east wing of Buckingham Palace was not a mishap during renovations. It was a deliberate act, carefully designed to make something disappear. What truly unsettled those who heard the story was not the blackened walls or the documents turned to ash, but what had been stored there before the flames: Queen Elizabeth's handwritten will. The document reportedly detailed concealed assets intended for William and Kate and carried a stark, ominous warning, one that cut like steel, that the crown must be shielded from Camilla at any cost. Within the realm of rumors and hushed conversations, Camilla's name hovered like a shadow that refused to lift. Some whispered that she was not merely mentioned in the Queen's warning, but stood at the heart of unseen plots quietly unfolding. And as scattered pieces of the truth slowly emerged, a heavy question settled over the monarchy. Who would ultimately keep hold of the crown, and who would lose everything? One fact was undeniable. Every move Charles makes from this point forward is clouded by doubt, and any choice he makes could permanently reshape the destiny of the royal family. The year 2025 stands as a turning point for Buckingham Palace, the enduring emblem of Britain's monarchy. After decades of enduring the slow erosion of time, the palace has entered the largest restoration project in its history. Vast stretches of scaffolding wrap around the building like a steel web, masking much of its former splendor. The steady thud of hammers and the shrill whine of drills echo endlessly through the halls, turning once solemn corridors into a sprawling construction zone. Entire sections are locked down, accessible only to contractors and senior project supervisors, secured by keycard entry and round-the-clock camera monitoring. Dust mingles with the sharp scent of fresh paint, and even longtime residents move through the space with a sense of unease and disorientation. Late on the night of March 15th, as London disappears beneath its familiar veil of fog, a sudden crackling burst breaks the silence in the eastern annex, one of the palace's most overlooked wings. At first, it resembles the sound of timber snapping under intense heat. Then, without warning, flames surge outward, devouring the aged wooden walls weakened by decades of decay. Thick black smoke pours into the air, setting off the palace's entire fire alarm system. Sirens scream, crimson lights flash, and night staff rush from their quarters in confusion and fear. The palace's internal fire response unit, trained specifically for emergencies of this kind, reacts immediately. Clad in protective equipment, they haul hoses and extinguishers as they charge toward the source of the blaze. Thankfully, the fire remains contained within a single room, sealed off by heavy stone walls. After 20 harrowing minutes, the flames are finally extinguished, leaving only scorched debris, drifting ash, and a biting, smoky stench. No one is hurt, but the destruction is undeniable. A former document storage room has been almost completely destroyed. By morning, a comprehensive incident report is sent to Clarence House, where King Charles III is staying while the renovations continue. Seated in his private study, a freshly poured cup of Earl Grey untouched before him, Charles grows visibly pale as he reads. "That Eastern Annex, what exactly was kept there? Why was I never informed of it?" he asks, his voice restrained yet edged with unease as he turns to his private secretary, a devoted man who has served him faithfully since his time as Prince of Wales. The secretary pauses, riffling through folders before answering carefully. "Your Majesty, that section has remained sealed since the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. There are no official documents listing what was stored inside. It may have contained nothing more than outdated or insignificant papers." The explanation fails to reassure Charles. A chill runs through him. How could there be a hidden area within the very palace he commands, one that seems to exist beyond his knowledge? He had believed himself familiar with every corner of Buckingham Palace, yet this unseen space unsettles him deeply, like a reminder of the secrets his mother once guarded so closely. Later that afternoon, Queen Camilla steps into the room, her expression carefully arranged to show concern. She rests a hand lightly on his shoulder, her tone gentle, the voice of a caring wife offering reassurance. "It was likely just an unfortunate accident, Charles. I'm sure they'll clarify everything soon. Try not to dwell on it. Your well-being matters most." She wraps her arms around him from behind. Charles gives only a slight nod, failing to return the affection, his gaze fixed on the scaffolding silhouetted against the afternoon light outside the window. He doesn't see the subtle curve of Camilla's lips behind him, a smile sharp with calculation. She knows better than anyone what that fire truly was. It was no accident, but a deliberate move in a meticulous plan she and her daughter had set into motion. Inside Charles, emotions churn. His thoughts drift to his mother, Queen Elizabeth, the formidable figure who had steered the monarchy through decades of crisis. She had always kept certain truths hidden. Had she foreseen the turmoil that would follow his late marriage? His hands tighten into fists as doubt and grief weigh heavily on his heart. This fire is only the first sign of a far greater storm gathering on the horizon. Let us turn back the clock to March 10th, 2025, only days before the unexplained fire breaks out at Buckingham Palace, when a hidden plot quietly begins to form within the darker circles of London's elite. Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter from her marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles, has long been accustomed to life among the upper class. Born in 1978, Laura grew up amid royal controversy, watching her mother endure fierce public condemnation for her relationship with Prince Charles. Now, a respected art curator, Laura has mastered the art of moving effortlessly through London's most prestigious galleries, cultivating a wide and influential network. Her refined appearance often causes people to dismiss her as merely another society figure. In reality, Laura is adept at using connections to advance her interests, like her marriage to Harry Lopes, a wealthy accountant and the grandson of Baron Astor. Through these circles, Laura has established contact with a trusted acquaintance in the construction sector, a contractor deeply involved in the renovation of Buckingham Palace's walls and technical spaces. His name is Marcus Reed, a stocky man in his mid-40s, hardened by years on construction sites. His salt-and-pepper hair and sharp, calculating eyes betray a man driven as much by opportunity as by experience. Marcus has crossed ethical lines before on major London projects, and within the palace's vast renovation scheme, spanning from 2017 to 2027, and funded by an enormous £369 million budget. He is assigned to inspect electrical systems, plumbing, and structural walls in the East Wing. The project's purpose is to modernize the aging palace, replacing outdated 19th century infrastructure and reinforcing fragile stonework. But in doing so, it unintentionally exposes long-buried secrets. Laura arranges to meet Marcus in a quiet cafe tucked away in Kensington, an affluent area of cobbled streets and elegant storefronts. The cafe's oak furnishings and a rich scent of espresso make it ideal for confidential discussions. Sitting alone in a shadowed corner, Laura wears a beige trench coat and cradles a latte in her hands. When Marcus arrives, his work clothes still marked with construction dust, she offers a polite smile that never reaches her eyes. "Marcus, you know I dislike unnecessary delays," she says calmly, her tone light yet commanding. She slides a bulky envelope across the table. Inside are tightly wrapped rolls of cash, totaling £50,000. "If you come across anything unusual during your inspections, don't report it. Bring it to me instead, and remember, your discretion will be rewarded, twice as much if it's truly valuable." Marcus nods without hesitation, ambition flashing in his gaze as he grips the envelope. Understood, no issues at all. He has no idea that Laura is acting entirely in service of her mother. Later that night, beneath London's hazy, star-speckled sky, Marcus works alone in a deserted corridor of Buckingham Palace long after the drills and voices of workers have faded. The palace feels like an immense maze, its exterior wrapped in scaffolding, the air thick with dust and fresh paint. Renovations are at their most intense, particularly in the East Wing, which only recently reopened to the public in 2024 after initial restoration. Wearing a hard hat fitted with a flashlight, Marcus examines the walls of an old storage area, a section largely abandoned since the reign of Queen Victoria. Suddenly, something catches his attention. A narrow gap, cleverly hidden behind faded wallpaper decorated with Tudor roses. His pulse quickens, curiosity blending with greed. "What is this?" he murmurs, slicing through the paper with his knife. A soft click follows, and a concealed door swings open. A small panel designed to merge seamlessly with the wall, absent from all official renovation plans. Beyond it lies a cramped, forgotten room choked with dust and stagnant air that reeks of decaying paper and damp wood. Marcus steps inside, sweeping his flashlight across the space. He sees old wooden chests engraved with royal insignia, boxes of silk embroidered in gold thread, possibly garments dating back to the era of Queen Elizabeth I, and piles of sealed letters marked with red wax. His hands shake as he opens a few containers, hoping to find gold or priceless relics. Instead, his attention is drawn to a narrow recess carved into the wall, just large enough to hold a single document. Inside rests an envelope bearing the intact royal seal of Queen Elizabeth II, the lion and the unicorn clearly visible. Acting on impulse, Marcus breaks the seal and reads under the flickering beam of his light. His face turns ashen, sweat forming along his brow. This is no treasure. It is a political revelation capable of shaking the monarchy to its core. Written in the Queen's unmistakable hand, graceful black ink lines, slightly unsteady with age, the letter outlines a final testament. It grants a substantial estate, including part of the royal farm within the Sandringham estate in Norfolk, along with a covert investment fund worth millions of pounds to Prince William and Princess Kate. intended to safeguard the future of the next generation. But the most devastating passage leaves Marcus sinking to the floor. "I wish William to strip Camilla of her titles and remove her following Charles's death. She is unfit for the crown. The monarchy must be protected from hidden schemes, at all costs. This is my final will, concealed to prevent conflict." Marcus stands rigid, breath coming in shallow gasps. This document could redraw the entire balance of royal power, casting Camilla aside while elevating William's authority. Without hesitation, he slips the letter into his pocket, seals the hidden door exactly as it was, and leaves the corridor. His heart racing, he contacts Laura through an encrypted line. "Ms. Lopes, I have what you were looking for. We need to meet immediately." When Laura receives the letter in a discreet Mayfair hotel, a lavish suite adorned with crimson velvet drapes and glittering crystal chandeliers, a chill runs through her. Sitting on a leather sofa beneath warm golden light, she reads the document again and again, fury and dread tightening her chest. "How could she?" Laura whispers, crushing the paper in her hand. This could annihilate her mother's hard-won position, Camilla's long struggle from being branded the other woman to finally becoming queen. Yet Laura does not see defeat. She sees leverage, something powerful enough to manipulate even King Charles if necessary. Clutching the letter, her eyes blaze with resolve. "Mother will thank me for this," she murmurs. "And if I must, I'll use it to protect us all." Her emotions collide, deep loyalty to her mother intertwined with fierce personal ambition. Memories of her childhood in Wiltshire flood back. The public scorn, being labeled Camilla's illegitimate burden, the nights spent in tears after cruel taunts. Now, standing at the edge of real power, Laura is determined that nothing and no one will stand in her way. That evening, March 11th, the stillness of Clarence House, the historic royal residence beside St. James's Palace, is abruptly disturbed as Laura steps into her mother's private chambers. Designed in the 19th century by architect John Nash, Clarence House carries an air of understated elegance, reflecting the refined tastes once favored by the Queen Mother Elizabeth. In the main drawing room, a marble fireplace stands at the center, its flames glowing softly. Camilla sits nearby, weary from a long day attending a charity engagement in Westminster, slowly sipping a glass of aged Burgundy wine. Laura closes the door with care, the soft click of the lock echoing in the silence. Her expression is grave as she approaches. "Mother, you need to see this," she murmurs, anxiety threading her voice as she hands over the letter, her fingers slightly unsteady. Camilla accepts it calmly at first, as though it were nothing more than routine correspondence. But the moment she unfolds the paper and recognizes Queen Elizabeth's unmistakable handwriting, slender blue lines, precise and commanding, her body stiffens. A violent shudder runs through her. Her eyes widen, tears spilling freely and splashing onto the page. "It can't be. Did she truly despise me that much?" Camilla whispers, her voice breaking under a wave of anguish and fury. She reads the words again and again, her grip tightening until her knuckles blanch. To Camilla, the letter feels like a sentence of annihilation. If it ever came to light, she would lose everything, her crown, her privileges, perhaps even Charles himself, the man she had loved since her youth. Memories flood her mind, years of fighting for acceptance, the public humiliation of scandal, endless sleepless nights under relentless scrutiny. And now this, proof that even after marrying Charles, she had never truly been accepted. Her heart races as betrayal surges through her. She never forgave me, Camilla murmurs, barely audible. Not even after I became Charles's wife. She remains silent for a long moment, the firelight dancing across her ashen face. Then she suddenly grasps Laura's hand, her voice hardening with resolve. We have to make it vanish, not just the letter, the entire room. There can be no trace left. If William discovers this, it's finished. Laura nods, sympathy in her eyes, but calculation in her tone. Sitting beside her mother, she speaks evenly. If they find the room empty, they'll dig deeper. Surveillance footage, fingerprints, everything. But if it's completely destroyed, there'll be nothing to examine. They'll blame it on the renovations, old wiring, scaffolding, chaos everywhere. The project is a mess. No one will question it. Camilla looks at her daughter, fear and gratitude flickering together in her gaze. She never imagined herself crossing such a line, transforming from a society woman into someone capable of orchestrating arson. Yet power and fear have reshaped her, turning hesitation into determination. You're right, Laura, she says quietly. We have to act. Tonight. The following night, March 12th, beneath a steady London drizzle, mother and daughter dress in dark cloaks, their faces hidden by hoods and scarves. Using a duplicate master key provided by Marcus, copied from the construction site, they slip into Buckingham Palace through a rear entrance, avoiding the main cameras by winding through the shadowed gardens. Camilla's heart hammers as she moves through the dim corridors, the air heavy with construction dust and the stale scent of workers' cigarettes. Inside her bag rests a small container of gasoline, her hands trembling as she whispers, Laura, are we certain? If we're caught… Laura squeezes her hand firmly, her voice unwavering. Mother, we're doing this for the future. Think about what we'll lose if we don't. They open the concealed door and step into the hidden room. Camilla pours the fuel over wooden chests and scattered documents, then strikes a match. The fire erupts instantly, flames racing across paper and wood alike. Pages blacken and curl, chests crack and collapse, and the Queen's secret is swallowed by smoke. The air thickens rapidly, forcing them into violent coughs. But they manage to escape unnoticed, slipping out to a waiting car parked nearby. As they emerge into the rain-soaked night, Camilla turns to her daughter, emotion choking her voice. From this moment on, we stand together, she whispers. Thank you, Laura. Without you, I wouldn't have known what to do. She pulls Laura into an embrace, tears blending with the rain. Yet deep inside, a quiet remorse begins to take root. She has destroyed more than a will. She has burned the last remnant of the woman who once dreamed of a quiet, honest life beside Charles. Laura returns the hug with a faint smile, but her eyes remain cool and calculating. This, she knows, is only the opening move in a far larger struggle for power. If their plan succeeds, her mother's position and her own will be more secure than ever. Still, a subtle unease stirs within her. Has the fire truly erased everything? Returning to the present, March 16, 2025, in the aftermath of the unexplained fire at Buckingham Palace, tension within the British royal family tightens to a breaking point, like a bomb waiting to detonate. The palace, already thrown into disorder by its vast renovation project, with its enormous budget and constant flow of workers, is now cloaked in suspicion and unspoken fear. Within the royal inner circle, the greatest strain bears down on King Charles III himself. At 76, his health remains fragile after years of illness, yet he cannot afford passivity. At Clarence House, his temporary residence, daily life appears undisturbed on the surface, while beneath it, turmoil churns relentlessly. A trusted servant, Mr. Reginald Thorne, an elderly valet who has served Charles since his days as Prince of Wales, recognizable by his white beard and heavy spectacles, approaches the king's private study in visible distress. The room is steeped in history, dark walnut paneling, shelves packed with volumes chronicling royal lineage, and a large oak desk carved with intricate detail. Under the warm glow of a desk lamp, Reginald kneels on one knee, his voice shaking. "Your Majesty, last night I saw someone who looked very much like Queen Camilla. And she wasn't alone, perhaps a younger woman with her. They were moving toward the eastern annex where the fire later broke out and their behavior seemed unusually secretive." Charles sits rigid in his leather chair, the tea in his hand long since gone cold. His chest tightens as his pulse races, fingers digging into the armrest. He still doesn't know what was stored in the room that burned, but his instincts, honed through decades of scandal and survival, tell him this was no coincidence. Camilla. Could it truly be her? The thought strikes like a blade. He loves Camilla, the woman who shared his loneliest years, but doubt seeps in, raising the painful possibility that his devotion has been used against him. Unable to remain still, Charles discreetly accesses a hidden surveillance system, an independent network installed by Queen Elizabeth II in the 1990s to guard royal secrets from threats within. Concealed within walls and ceilings, known only to a select few, including Charles and Prince William, the system is isolated from public networks to prevent intrusion and capable of recording even in near-total darkness. Hours later, alone in the study, lit only by a computer screen, Charles watches the grainy infrared footage. The black and white images reveal a tall, slender woman cloaked in dark fabric, her movements hauntingly familiar. Camilla's distinctive slight tilt of the head when she walks quickly. Beside her is a younger woman, alert and observant, possibly Laura. Together, they slip into the corridor leading toward the eastern annex, then disappear from view. Charles's heart slams against his ribs as blood rushes to his face. "No, Camilla, why?" he whispers, his voice breaking under a surge of pain and anger. Tears fall freely, his first since the day he buried his mother. Memories of quiet nights with Camilla, shared confidences and whispered promises, now feel tainted, corroded by suspicion. He clenches his fists, determination hardening within him. He will uncover the truth not only for the sake of the crown, but to answer his own conscience. Camilla, seasoned by years of navigating aristocratic survival, quickly senses the shift in her husband. She notices the chill in Charles's gaze at breakfast, the way he withdraws from her familiar touch. Panic grips her. If Charles discovers that she and Laura were responsible for the fire, everything collapses. Her title, her reputation, the privileged life she fought so fiercely to secure. Memories of her youth resurface when she was branded the destroyer of Charles and Diana's marriage. She cannot allow history to repeat itself. Without delay, Camilla sends for a loyal maid named Sophie, a young woman in her service since her days as Duchess of Cornwall. With an innocent demeanor that masks her true role as Camilla's informant, Sophie discreetly plants a tiny listening device in the study. Soon after, she reports back in hushed tones, "Ma'am, His Majesty has been reviewing the concealed cameras. He suspects you." Shaken but resolute, Camilla moves swiftly. She gathers a thick bundle of financial documents, records tied to royal investment funds and valuable Scottish properties, and arranges a meeting with Charles in the drawing room at Clarence House. The air feels heavy, scented with roses from a vase on the table, afternoon sunlight filtering softly through the curtains. Camilla enters with reddened eyes, her voice trembling as she breaks into tears. "I just want everything settled, Charles. Please sign the transfers to me. I'm frightened. If something were to happen to you, I could be left with nothing." Her sobs sound genuine, hands clutching a silk handkerchief, tears flowing freely. Yet beneath the flawless performance lies sharp calculation. She needs financial control as an escape route, a safety net if everything unravels. Charles watches her closely, doubt igniting like fire in his mind. He senses the falseness behind the tears, yet years of shared history hold him back. Carefully, he responds in a measured tone. "The Treasury must confirm all legal details during the Buckingham renovations. I'll sign in 2 days. You have my word." Camilla nods, dabbing her eyes as she leaves with a practiced smile. But once she turns away, her expression hardens, eyes dark with fury and fear. She knows Charles is buying time to dig deeper. Terror coils in her chest, quickly followed by iron resolve. She will not surrender everything without resistance. Under her breath, she murmurs, "Charles, you've pushed me into this." Will Charles uncover the truth hidden behind the flames? And as Camilla tightens her grip on her secrets, what will she do to ensure they remain buried? Aware that her husband's suspicions are intensifying, Camilla and Laura chooses to act first, transforming defense into attack in this dangerous contest for power. Mother and daughter quietly convene a select circle of loyal aristocrats and immensely wealthy lords from venerable families at a secluded villa on the outskirts of Surrey. Shielded by towering walls and expansive gardens, the estate lies safely beyond the reach of intelligence surveillance or intrusive paparazzi. Inside, the air is heavy with tension. Cigar smoke coils beneath crystal chandeliers, and whiskey catches the light in cut glass tumblers. Dressed in an elegant black gown, Camilla presides at the head of the table, her voice smooth yet commanding. "Gentlemen," she begins, "in return for access to lucrative benefits from royal funds, shares in oil ventures, prime real estate, I need your assistance. Spread rumors that will damage Charles. Create enough public noise to divert his attention from what truly matters." Beside her, Laura watches coldly before adding in a sharp tone. "We've prepared fabricated material, doctored emails suggesting affairs after the marriage. It won't destroy him outright, but it will keep him anxious and off balance." The men exchange glances, then nod, eyes bright with avarice. They understand the opportunity before them. Strengthen their own influence, even if it means turning against the king. By the following morning, the British press explodes. Headlines flood major outlets. Is King Charles entangled in post-marital affair allegations? Anonymous leaks reveal troubling emails. The stories ripple rapidly across social media, with hashtag royal scandal surging to the top of trending lists. Though the claims lack the concrete proof needed to permanently ruin Charles's reputation, they generate enough noise to unsettle the public, drive royal fund-linked stocks down 5% on the London Exchange, and increase political pressure within Parliament. At Clarence House, Charles sits in the meeting room, face burning with fury, as he slams his hand against the table. "Who dares circulate this filth?" he snaps. "It's outright defamation. Call the legal team, now." His advisors remain quiet, but Charles senses the truth instinctively. This is an internal strike, a familiar maneuver in royal history where threats arise from within the closest circle. What pains him most is not the public smear, but the growing certainty that Camilla herself is behind it. At the height of this turmoil, an unexpected voice steps forward, like justice breaking through darkness. Mrs. Emily Hargrove, a former maid to Queen Elizabeth II, now around 70, with silver hair neatly pinned back and a voice weakened by age, reaches out through a discreet channel reserved for the Queen's most loyal servants. Dismissed by Camilla in 2023 under the pretext of disloyalty, when in truth she had refused to spy on William, Emily is quietly escorted to Clarence House, unseen. In the private study, she kneels shakily before Charles, emotion trembling through her words. "Your Majesty, I know why that room was burned," she says. "I served Her late Majesty there. I helped her safeguard her secrets. She left a letter for Prince William, the original one, not a copy." From her hands, she produces an aged envelope, the Queen's handwriting still unmistakable. As Charles opens and reads it, shock washes over him. Tears spill freely, carrying a flood of memory. "My mother? She anticipated everything," he murmurs, gratitude and grief breaking his voice. The letter confirms the bequests, the royal farm, the hidden investment fund. But more importantly, it delivers a stark warning about Camilla. She will endanger the monarchy if she is not stopped. In that moment, doubt evaporates. This is undeniable proof, enough to justify decisive action. Charles feels a surge of resolve as he recalls his mother's quiet sacrifices. The countless nights she lay awake worrying about the future of the crown and those who would inherit it. He tightens his grip on the letter, eyes burning with determination. "Camilla," he says softly, yet with finality, "this ends now." 2 days later, the designated day arrives. Clarence House, once a place of refuge for King Charles and Queen Camilla, now becomes the stage for a looming tragedy. The London morning is cold, heavy gray clouds spreading across the sky, signaling an approaching storm. Camilla steps through the main gate with composed elegance. She is dressed in a long black gown with a high neckline and long sleeves, paired with glossy black heels and an expensive Hermes handbag. Her makeup is flawless, concealing every trace of worry, and inwardly she feels assured. Today Charles will sign, she tells herself, allowing a discreet smile. She is convinced that her earlier tears and pleas have softened him, and that the pressure from the scandal she unleashed will prevent any further delay. What she does not realize is that behind her husband's calm exterior, a trap, carefully constructed and merciless, has already been set. Charles has prepared everything in complete secrecy, acting with the resolve of a king safeguarding his throne. He invites Camilla into the main drawing room, a spacious chamber with gleaming wooden floors. Walls lined with oil portraits by royal artists such as Gainsborough, and a marble fireplace still quietly alight. At the center, on a large oak table, the asset transfer documents are laid out, ready to be signed. What Camilla cannot see is concealed behind a thick red velvet curtain in the corner. Prince William, Charles's eldest son, standing utterly still like a specter. Dressed in a white shirt and dark trousers, his expression stern, William holds a small recorder that was activated 10 minutes earlier. He had been summoned ahead of time by his father after Charles revealed the evidence contained in Queen Elizabeth's original letter. "Son, we must do this for your grandmother," Charles had whispered with emotion. William nodded, his heart burning with anger, memories flooding back of the years his grandmother protected the monarchy. This time, he is determined not to let Camilla destroy that legacy. Camilla enters the room, the familiar trace of Chanel perfume lingering in the air. She smiles and seats herself across from Charles, her voice soft and expectant. "Charles, are you ready? I truly want everything settled." Charles, seated upright in a gray suit, answers with a calm nod. Yet his eyes are sharper than ever. He begins speaking evenly, almost casually, as if commenting on something inconsequential. "Camilla, have you ever thought," he says quietly, "about why a queen would hide a letter inside a wall niche barely wide enough for a single envelope? Such a narrow space, as if she anticipated that someone might deliberately go looking for it." The words strike like a concealed blade. Camilla's hand trembles, her teacup lightly clinking against its saucer. For a fleeting second, all color drains from her face. She quickly regains control, forcing a dismissive tone. I only heard people mention it, Charles. Perhaps someone from the renovation team. You're reading too much into it." But Charles does not relent. He leans forward, locking his gaze onto hers, his voice tightening. "Which people, Camilla?" Only someone who had been inside that room would know about a niche so small it could hold nothing but a letter. "Who told you? Laura, perhaps?" Silence stretches, heavy and suffocating. The drawing room seems to close in, the air thick as lead. Then, overwhelmed by panic and losing control, Camilla blurts out the truth. "Laura only wanted to help me. That night, we had no choice. We did it to protect everything. You don't understand, Charles." The confession detonates, ripping away the final, fragile layer of deception. The room goes utterly still, broken only by the quiet crackle of the fire. Charles lifts his hand in a subtle signal. From behind the curtain, William steps into view, his face flushed with barely contained fury. He raises the recorder, his voice cold and unwavering. "Your confession has been fully recorded. You and Laura set fire to my grandmother's hidden room." Camilla stares at William, then turns back toward Charles. All strength drains from her body, as though centuries have collapsed within her. She staggers, tears spilling uncontrollably. "Charles, please," she cries. "I was terrified of losing you, of losing everything. I never wanted it to come to this." She drops to her knees, clutching his legs, her sobs raw and desperate. But the trap has already snapped shut. There is no escape. Charles places the original letter on the table. His mother's unmistakable handwriting lies clear beneath the light. "This is the proof, Camilla," he says quietly. "My mother foresaw everything." Agony tears through him. Memories flood back. Secret years with Camilla, hidden meetings, exchanged letters, a love that once defied public judgment. Yet now, he stands unyielding, a king choosing the survival of the monarchy over his own heart. William, burning with righteous fury, grips the recorder like a weapon, his anger fueled by the betrayal of his grandmother's trust. And Camilla, exposed and broken, weeps not as a queen, but as a woman stripped of hope, too late, understanding the price of what she has done. A few days later, confidential information spreads like poison in royal circles. King Charles III has formally submitted divorce papers to the Special Royal Court, the discreet institution that handles matters of the Windsor family. The filing, prepared by senior lawyers from Farrer and Company, keeps all specifics sealed. Yet before the public can grasp any details, major outlets such as The Times and the BBC begin to allude cautiously. Fractures in the royal marriage, Charles and Camilla nearing separation. Inside the palace, however, everyone understands the reality. Camilla and Laura's schemes have collapsed completely. Their arson and fabricated media attacks have been fully uncovered. The aristocrats and media figures who once stood beside them, wealthy earls and influential editors, pull away at once, afraid of being implicated in the scandal. Connections are abruptly cut, emails erased, meetings canceled, leaving Camilla isolated within the elite world she once controlled. Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter, disappears quietly from public sight, as though she had never taken part in this ruthless contest for power. She retreats to a secluded villa in Wiltshire, Bolehide Manor, the old family estate once owned by her mother, surrounded by dense gardens and tall walls that shield her from photographers. Alone by the window, Laura watches relentless rain cascade down, her heart heavy with regret and isolation. Memories of the night of the fire return, the fierce resolve she felt in trying to protect her mother, yet now everything lies in ruins. "I was wrong," she murmurs through tears. The social events, the networks, the influence, all gone. Laura becomes a shadow of her former self, living in quiet fear of prosecution and complete social exile. Camilla, once at the center of public controversy, now sits alone in a darkened room at Clarence House, the same drawing room that once symbolized comfort, now cold and lifeless. Wrapped in an old robe, she weeps uncontrollably, fully realizing that her own hands have destroyed her path to survival. Her sobs echo softly through the room. "Charles, how did it come to this?" she whispers. Memories flood back, secret early meetings with Charles at Highgrove, passionate letters exchanged in secrecy, a love that once endured relentless scrutiny. But ambition transformed her, from a society woman into a betrayer, from a survivor into someone who nearly shattered the monarchy itself. Now she stands to lose everything: her title as queen, her financial security, and the man she loved. Camilla curls inward, hugging her knees in the darkness, trembling beneath the weight of belated remorse. Elsewhere, at Kensington Palace, Prince William places the recording securely inside a private safe, guarding it like a priceless relic meant to protect the future. Princess Kate smiles softly when she learns that the royal farm and investment fund will soon pass to them, exactly as Queen Elizabeth intended. In the warmth of their drawing room, she embraces her husband and whispers, "We'll protect the monarchy the way she wanted, William. For our children." William nods, resolve shining in his eyes, his heart filled with gratitude toward his grandmother, who foresaw everything and safeguarded them beyond her lifetime. Late one night, days later, Charles sits alone in his study at Clarence House, rereading the original letter. The dim golden glow of the desk lamp casts shadows across his exhausted face, lines etched deeper by recent events. The Queen's handwriting remains unmistakable, elegant, firm, commanding. William must protect the throne from Camilla at all costs. Charles folds the letter and gazes out the window toward Buckingham Palace, where scaffolding still clings to its walls, metallic frames looming beneath the moonlight, symbols of renovation, reckoning, and renewal. The cracks in the palace walls mirror the fractures in his marriage, born of suspicion, betrayal, and loss. Yet for the first time in months, Charles feels a sense of release. Justice has been done. The monarchy is secure, and at last, he can face the future without shadows, trailing behind him. The story closes, but its lessons on power, loyalty, and consequence linger, leaving those who witness it to reflect on the secrets that lie behind the crown. Do you feel shock and fury at Camilla and Laura's betrayal as their plot is exposed? Do you share Charles's pain upon learning the truth? Or admire Queen Elizabeth's foresight and sense of justice as the truest form of honor? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You might enjoy it.